family. We were half brothers because my dad, some of y'all have Mexican dads. Some Mexican dads are playas. That was my dad. He had other families around. Juan and I had a really special relationship. He always thought I was going to be some kind of something. Other people didn't, but he did. And he was a reader. And he would send his old paperbacks to me with my dad. And that's where I discovered Ray Bradbury. It was through Juan. And Ray Bradbury definitely changed, right? Changed my life. I was like the barrio king of Ray Bradbury because nobody else. And my brother and my dad had a mixed kind of relationship, but just so you know, in spite of all the rhetoric you hear and bad hombres and all that stuff, my father and my brother learned English by memorizing the dictionary. They did 5 pages a week. And when Juan wasn't around, because he wasn't around much, my dad would make me give him his English tests, which when you're in 4th grade and your dad's glowering at you with a Pall-Mall, that's nerve-wracking, right? He's like, mijo, dame el examen, mijo. And I'd say, Apá, what is an aardvark? Oh. So, anyway, my mom was American. Those of you who know me know this. She was from New York. My dad was Mexican from Rosario, Sinaloa. But my dad was the blonde, blue-eyed one, not my mom. Because his mom, my abuelita, Guadalupe Murray, Irish Mexicana with red hair, blue eyes. And so I was born in Tijuana. We came across, when I was almost 4, I had tuberculosis. They thought I was going to die. I was in bad shape. So we came into Barrio Logan. Those of you who are up on your poets, America's great poet laureate, first Chicano poet laureate in history, Juan Felipe Herrera, lived at the other end of the street I lived on. We never knew each other, but we were on National Avenue at Logan. And their marriage came apart really fast. And so my mom never learned Spanish. My dad learned English, as you know, the hard way. And my mother thought I was one of her relatives, not an Urrea. I was Louis Woodward. And my father thought my name was Cabron. And so the battle over our nationality, our culture, our language was always present. And I had to speak perfect English at all times. And I had to speak perfect Spanish at all times, which I hated as a kid, but turned out to be a super gift. So fast forward, my father's gone, my mother's gone. Juan's mother was just about to turn 100 years old. And Juan had had cancer for quite a while. And he was 3 times on his deathbed and got better. And the first time it happened, he was sick. He called me, carnal. Tengo malas noticias, carnal. I said, what's the matter, Juan? I've got cancer. I said, what kind of cancer? He said, bladder cancer. It's not good. And I didn't know what to do, right? And this was years ago. And my publisher made me get on social media, right? So I was like, oh, I'm on this thing called Facebook. And he's like, yeah. And I said, yeah. But you know what they do on Facebook? They put up when they're sick and people pray for them. I said, you want people to pray for you? He said, sí, carnal. Because my brother had a very strong ego. He liked the thought of gringos praying for him, you know? So I put it up, and we got about 100 people praying for him, and he got better. But in a Mexican family, that meant Tío Luis made a miracle. Luis is a curandero, you know? And then he got sick again, and I put it back up on Facebook, and some of you who are here might have been involved in this, but the readers formed Team Juan. And somebody drew a logo for Team Juan. And we had 350 people praying for him, and he was checking it. And what was really great, and I have to say this, that we had Catholic people doing novenas, and we're saying the rosary, and that was cool. And then we had Protestant people, you know, praying to the Lord, and that was cool. And then we had Wiccans hoping that the moon goddess would smile upon him, you know. And then we had atheists sending really positive thoughts and light to you. And we had Buddhists hoping for a peaceful transition out of this life. Everybody praying. And my brother loved it so much, he got better again. So the last time he was really super sick, the cancer had gotten in his lungs. He was on his deathbed in the ICU in a hospital in San Diego. And I, as always, because I live on tour, was on tour. And I had my wife, Cindy, and our daughter, Chayo. And we went to him and on our way to someplace else. And I sat on his bed with him, and he was tiny and crazy and sick. And he was at that point when you see the dead, and they were coming in his room, and he'd say, carnal, mira, ya llegó la muchachita. And I'd say, what muchachita? ¿No la ves? She's trying to tell me a secret, carnal. I said, wow, yeah, what is she saying? I don't know yet. And he had a plastic clip on his finger for the heart thing, and he thought it was coffee. And he kept drinking the coffee. And I said, oye, carnal, don't do that. And he said, no, don't worry, it won't burn me. And I sat on the bed with him, and he was in and out of lucidity, and he suddenly snapped to for a second, and he looked at me. And I said, carnal, I have to go. I should be here with you for all of this. And he said, no, we're working, man. You've got to go. Go to your job. It's important. And we had never said, I love you. We'd never hugged or kissed or anything. He was... And I said, carnal, you're my hero. And he said, still? I said, yeah. And so I left, right? We're on the road. My cell phone rings, and I think this is it. It's his daughter. So I girded myself, and I said, okay, Millie, what's the news? And she said, what news? I said, Millie, mi carnal, what's the news? And she said, oh, no, he's fine. He's at home. I was like, will this man never die? So his mom, he got very weak and pretty ill again. And his 74th birthday was coming up. And he was very aware, I think, that he was going to die shortly thereafter. And one of the granddaughters suggested that they throw him a birthday party. Don't anybody say it's the last party on earth. He knew. And when he got wind of it, the ego inflated because he realized, I can have my wake while I'm alive. I can direct my wake. And I can have everybody tell me how badass I was when I was alive. But his mom died the week before the party. And he was kind of irritated. She stole his thunder, you know. And people don't have enough money in my family to keep coming to San Diego. So he, since he was in charge of everything, had her funeral on one day and his goodbye birthday party the next day, which is where this book came from. Watching this, and I've been telling people, you know, it's kind of embarrassing now. I'm not looking anymore when I see stuff in the press because people have been very kind, and it's kind of, it makes me self-conscious. Except one guy who wrote to me today and said, "Just read your book, didn't like it as much as the other ones." That was the first bad review, though. But he said it's because it reminds me too much of my own life. I thought, oh, okay. So we were watching this, and in those interviews, I've been calling it the Mexican Finnegan's Wake, because in the house, he was in his wheelchair, cansado, you know, sitting there, and every kind of raza you've ever met or imagined, every kind of Mexicano or Chicano showed up at once, and then the requisite white friends, and a couple of white people who'd married in, they were there. You know, the white folks that are sort of fake Mexicans? Orale, loco! Orale! Those guys. And then there was a group of Samoans, and people were like, where the hell did those guys come from? It's our family. And it's all going on at once. And I was sitting there with Juan, watching this, and it reminded me of the wedding scene in The Godfather. And I said, carnal, you're just like Don Corleone. He said, I am Don Corleone. And the thing, there are two things that made the book happen. And then I'll open it for questions, or or comments or anything you'd like to talk about. But I watched my brother